Hello there. Welcome to the Maker Manager Money podcast, which inspires entrepreneurs to keep going and entrepreneurs to just start. My name is Kyle Knowles, and today's guest is Amber Gaige. Amber is a second-generation entrepreneur and the founder of Far Beyond Marketing. Amber earned a bachelor's degree in vocal performance from Baylor University. And drawing on her extensive experience in growing, selling, and scaling businesses, Amber offers practical marketing insights for entrepreneurs. She is a certified story brand guide and the international best-selling author of the Far Beyond Marketing Guidebook. Amber's approach revolves around her 4 C's of marketing: clear copy, consistent branding, customer demographics, and channel management. Get ready to learn how to implement these crucial elements to effectively reach your customers and achieve sustainable growth in your maker, manager, and money-making journey. Welcome to the show, Amber.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing to be here today. How are you, Kyle?
I'm doing really well. Where are you dialing in from today?
I'm dialing in from North Dallas in a suburb called McKinney.
Well, great. I wanted to start off, Amber, because I just love when I talk to entrepreneurs, everyone's background is so different. But the idea that you were part of Baylor Chamber Singers and opera theater while earning your vocal performance degree at Baylor. Do you still sing?
On occasion, I try, and my 8-year-old says, "Mommy, don't sing." And I'm a little offended. I'm like, I used to get paid to do this, kid, but whatever. So,
And do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Oh, absolutely not. No. I think it's a little scary to try and do karaoke after you've had an opera degree. I mean, the closest would probably be like, Whitney Houston or Celine Dion, but that just dates me. So I'll just sit back and drink and cheer everybody else on.
Okay. But is there a song that you love to sing? What's the song you love to sing the most?
Oh my gosh. The song, like a classical song?
Yeah.
Probably Rizalka's Song to the Moon in Russian. That's probably one of my favorites.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it, but that's really cool. And do you think that this getting a vocal performance degree has helped you as an entrepreneur? I mean, obviously as a keynote speaker, but as an entrepreneur, what kinds of things did you learn from vocal performance and that kind of training that helps you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I mean, I think, listen, to be a soprano in a classical music world, you are just a dime a dozen. So you have to have a thick skin. You have to be able to take it on the chin. You need to be able to handle rejection well and pick yourself up and get back up again. And isn't that just the daily life of an entrepreneur who's daily battling, not that entrepreneur isn't great, it's a blessing, but sometimes it can feel like a daily battle. And so, tenacity, I think, is a key component of entrepreneurship that you learn when you're in the performing world.
Yeah, for sure. I love that answer. So let's talk about being a second generation entrepreneur. Talk about the first generation entrepreneur, I guess your parents or your father as a owning a plumbing business. And how did you get involved with that? And what things did you learn from that business, the plumbing business?
Oddly enough, I'm actually a third generation entrepreneur.
Okay. Third generation.
Yeah. So my grandparents on both sides of the family were very entrepreneurial. On my mother's side of the family, her father was a television repairman. He had a clacker factory. He did not go to university. My mother was the first in her family to go to university. And so he was always providing for his family through entrepreneurship. On my father's side of the family, he was a very hardworking, industrious man who would fix cars and flip real estate. And then for my parents, I grew up in a home services business. And so my parents ran plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofing, pest control, all kinds of home services businesses. And then I was privileged to be homeschooled during those times. And so actually finished high school at 16. And half of my day and part of my education was working in family businesses, and the other half was getting schoolwork done. So it was absolutely trial by fire. It was a daily part of our lives for many years in the 80s and 90s. Our businesses were in our home, in a spare bedroom. And so, entrepreneurship was just who we were. It was our identity as a family. And then after graduating from Baylor and traveling the world and singing classically, and you realize that you really don't make much money in the arts. It's just not really a thing. You do it because you love it. You don't do it because you're going to get rich. I decided that I wanted to be a mom. And the best way to control my life and my money and my freedom and my time was to start my own business. So I got to do that. and sold my first business within 5 years. I sold it to private equity, then got to scale in private equity and play on a national level. And now I'm back and just loving supporting other entrepreneurs to help them achieve their goals.
That's really awesome. So let's talk about the business that you started then. What was that business, and how did you grow it, and how did you eventually sell it?
So that business was a lead generating company on behalf of home services all across the United States of America. It was based on direct mail. It was a licensing agreement. And we had over 2.5 million guidebooks across the United States, and we were paid for lead generation. And so we started with no clients, no customers, no employees. Like I said, scaled it in 5 years and then flipped it. And it still is in existence today. It's a great profitable business model so that home service providers can get leads from highly vetted homeowners. And that was a great foray into starting a business from scratch, growing it and flipping it. It could be a bug. It could absolutely be addicting if you wanted it to be.
It's awesome. And I'm sure that you learned so many valuable lessons when you were working for your parents' business, because you get those opportunities. I mean, you have immediate feedback. Like when you're working in the corporate world, you don't get that immediate feedback, or kind of the full circle of how to, generate a lead or have a customer come in, retain that customer. What were some of the things you learned working for the family business? And then what were some of the things you learned when you started your own business that were different?
Sure. Well, working for the family business, you also have to have a very thick skin. When you work with older brothers, cousins, uncles, aunts, and parents, there is no one sugarcoating your failures. So let's just be honest about that. So family business is hard for anyone listening. Buck up, Chuck. But it prepares you for life in the corporate world. My father used to say, if you can work for me, you can work for anyone. And that's true. It makes you tough. So I think learning the foundations of business. One of the benefits of working in a family business is you are exposed to every area of the business. You have to work with accounting. You work in customer service. You work in operations. You work the phone system. You work in marketing. So it was a very holistic, hands-on, almost internship type of 24/7 education. I think when you transition to the corporate world, you're expected to specialize. And the breadth and knowledge that you bring from your experience certainly shapes how successful you can be as a specialist. But the invaluable opportunity to understand a business from soup to nuts, if you will, is, I think, one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves as entrepreneurs.
Okay. And so after you graduated and you were singing professionally, it sounds like, and you were traveling, what was the aha moment where you were like, no, I'm going to start my own business?
It really wasn't. It was an aha moment when my mother called me and said, hey, our call center manager just quit and you're the only one that's tough enough and has the experience to come do the job. Get your ass up here. And it was like, okay. At the time, I was engaged to be married and I needed stable income. And I remember my mother saying, guess what? I'm literally throwing you to the wolves. This is the worst job in the entire company. Have fun. And so when you're young and you're hungry and you're desperate, you go back and you just make it work because you have the energy and the drive to do it. And that it was probably about 8 years from being back in the family business when my father called me into his office and said, we're going to start a marketing company. You're going to run it. Have fun with that. And so that was really what became my entrepreneurial journey of the company that I ultimately owned, built, and sold. Was School of Hard Knocks. Was just kind of forced upon you. And it worked out great. Worked out for the best.
And then once you sold the business, did you have to stay on for a little while to kind of help them transition? And then why did you decide to start another marketing business?
I love marketing. Marketing is the greatest blend of analytics and creativity. It is always changing. It has a profound impact on the operational goals of the business. It marries well with operations. And with the advancement of AI and with the collaboration that it offers with vendor partners and team members, I just can't imagine any other part of business that I love more than marketing. So yeah, that's why I decided to do it again. And also, as a third generation entrepreneur, I wanted to help my people. I wanted to go back and support other entrepreneurs with their goals. And marketing is a fuel in the engine that helps people get the revenue they need to meet their goals.
All right. I love that answer. So as far as marketing goes, I know a lot of people are confused between marketing and sales. How do you put a line in the sand between those two, I guess, functions, marketing and sales?
Yeah, well, sales closes the deal. Marketing hands them the leads. So that's how I like to see it. Marketing is the sales funnel that happens behind the scenes. It's the components that bring in the opportunities. Sales is the tip of the spear.
I like that analogy. What are some of the AI workflows and tools that you've adopted and use day to day?
Well, we're actually partnering with an R&D company to create our own AI-based project manager who can handle up to 1 million clients, if you can believe it. With the incredibly challenging nature of people needing answers now, it is also one of the hardest things to do to recruit high quality people to serve your clients. And so we are creating an AI persona. I think we named her Sparky. I don't even know if we've settled on her name yet, but she is going to take our inbound information, parlay it into our project management platform, parlay that into emails and tasks and deployments, and then actually direct our fulfillment staff to serve our customers more efficiently. So we're really excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. And then Far Beyond Marketing, how did you come up with the name Far Beyond Marketing?
I was sitting in church one day and I was praying about what this business needs to be and what my legacy needed to be. And my life verse is Ephesians 3:20 and 21. And it's that God can do exceedingly abundantly beyond what we could hope, ask, or imagine. And I like to talk a lot, and I can hope for a lot, and I can ask for a lot. So that felt like a really big promise. And when I was sitting there, I just thought, you know what? If we can go far and above and beyond what people's expectation is for a marketing agency, and we can help them win, then that ultimately embodies our goal of being servant leaders in entrepreneurship and in business. And it just stuck. It just felt right.
That's awesome. And when you started, was it just you initially that started the company? And then,
Yeah.
and were you just offering consulting services for marketing for different companies? Is that the initial?
I was.
So you were a solopreneur first.
Mm-hmm.
And then as more and more clients and leads came on, you had to hire people to kind of help manage the day to day and, servicing clients. And when did you decide to write a book?
That was about 2 years ago. It was a 12-month labor of love and hate. And I really wanted to consolidate and inform our clients about the process that we had found to be working over the last 20 years of marketing experience, which is the 4 C's of effective marketing. And I also thought that if I could empower entrepreneurs with a book that was really easy to read, really easy to follow, that they would feel more educated and empowered when they were entering into some of these high stakes conversations. So that was the reason behind writing the international best-selling book, The Far Beyond Marketing Guidebook, How to Stop Being Duped by Bad Marketing.
Awesome. I love the subtitle. Here's the book here. But I love how practical the book is, and it does show basically a lot of the things you've learned, or maybe everything. I don't know if the whole kitchen sink's in here or not, but there's so many things that you've learned over the years. Everything from SEO to what, I love all the sections on what not to do and what to do. But I wanted to ask you specifically about the 4 C's of effective marketing. The first C is copy, otherwise known as how to talk about your company. Can you explain that concept a little bit?
Sure. I think that it is very common for business owners to assume that other people understand what we do. I think it's also very common for us to assume that people care about what we do. And the bottom line is most people don't. Most people come off of a website in 4 seconds or less. So the idea of copy, and this is where StoryBrain comes in, because I am a certified StoryBrain coach, is that you need to be able to tell a story about your business in such a way that you're compelling others to pay attention. And really, the primary story that you tell is what kind of problem do you solve for your clients through your business. If we stop talking about our clients' problems, they stop paying attention. So it's never about us. It's about what they get from doing business with us. And so that is the premise for clear copy.
Yeah, I love it too. I've worked in marketing for years and years, and I would always tell my teams, it's not about us, it's about them. And
That's right.
the whole Donald Miller's book, Building a Story Brand. I had another guest on the podcast named Sarah Noel Block. She runs Tiny Marketing. She's a big proponent of the book too. And you went and got certified as a coach or a guide. And what's interesting about building a story brand is that the hero of the story is the customer.
Always.
And the company is the guide. So,
Yes.
so I love the idea. It's not about us, it's about them. And so with the storytelling and copy, just making sure that the customer is always front and center as that hero. And you're just going to help them achieve their goals. Anything else you want to talk about on the first C, copy?
I just think it's very tempting for us to talk about ourselves, even at a cocktail party. But really, everyone wears an invisible sign that says, make me feel special. So if we understand that our brains are wired to do two things, survive and thrive, then the more we lean into how we help other people succeed, the more interesting we become to them and indispensable.
When I think about so many brands that get this wrong, and a lot of small to medium businesses especially, but I've even seen billion-dollar brands where they're posting things on their profile that are about themselves. They're at a conference or here or there, but it has nothing to do with the customer. So I love this approach, and that you're story brand certified. What is the process, I guess, to become a certified coach? What does that story brand certification look like, and how does someone get that?
Well, I did it 5 years ago, so I'm sure things have changed since then. But at the time, it was absolutely an intensive few days of training there at the headquarters at Goose Hill. And you are trained with the staff. You will have to understand and be able to produce the methodology and train others in it as well. The program has certainly evolved over the last 5 years to now encompass other certifications as well. But yeah, we had to understand how to create a wireframe. We had to understand how to tell a story. We had to break down the components of the 7-part framework. We had to learn from the best. We had to critique each other. It was a wonderful collaborative community of very talented entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, marketers, advisors, and I've never regretted the investment.
That's really cool. And my understanding is there are only about 500 in the United States.
There's only 500 of us about globally. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. So let's talk about the second C of your 4 C's of effective marketing: consistent branding, otherwise known as why your visuals matter.
Yeah. Your visuals matter because it's how they make people feel when they're ready to do business with you. So your visuals should always match your words. If you're talking about a dog, don't put a picture of a cat. Talking about a horse, don't put a picture of a pig. The framing of the emotions, the tone, the brand archetype, if you will, to use an industry term, it's all hugely important when it comes to consistently branding your company's message and how you do what you do. I support several different home service providers. There are some plumbers that take a patriotic theme. There are some plumbers whose logo is a Jeep and they have ducks on the dashboard. Same service, very different vibe. So consistent branding is how you're representing yourself to the public. It's where you're representing yourself. It's how you want people to perceive your brand and your services. Are you fun and flirty? Are you serious and corporate? Are you mysterious? Are you the hero? What does that look like? And I think this is something that gets lost a lot of the time when we're in the panic mode of trying to start our own brand. We don't think about who we are as a company. We just think about how to get clients and what we're going to do and how desperate we are to make money. But really, the more you identify, the more you develop your own persona as a business, the more you will clearly attract people who appreciate the methodology that you take in your services. Birds of a feather flock together.
And so talking about a client or say a home service company that uses, America or the American flag as a theme compared to someone that uses a Jeep with ducks on it, like, are they attracting different types of customers?
Yeah, I think so. There's enough room for all of us in the marketplace. I think that people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And I think your brand is, again, how you make people feel. So how do you feel? What kind of person do you want to do business with? And I think when we're online and we're searching, or I'm going to date myself here. We used to look in the phone book. God forbid that doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I think when you're looking for a brand to do business with, you want to see yourself and identify with that brand for sure.
Awesome. So will you describe Far Beyond Marketing's brand?
Sure. So Far Beyond Marketing is servant leadership. Our logo, our standalone mark is a compass. We want to go above and beyond what people expect. We want to be the guide. We do not want to be the hero. And the reason that we chose the compass and the colors of blue and gold is because we want to offer high quality direction and guidance for our customers to win.
And you described it in less than 30 seconds too. So
there you go.
What you need, right? Awesome. So the third C in the 4 C's of effective marketing is customer demographics, otherwise known as who's your customer. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Who's your customer? Who's paying you? Who's paying your bills? What are they buying from you? Why are they buying from you? This is a big part of making sure that your brand is in front of the right audience. We do customer demographic reverse pins all the time for our clients, and they are shocked that the people that they think are their customers are not actually who's buying from them. So it's important to not only understand what you're selling, but who is buying it and why they're buying from you. So it goes far beyond male, female, zip code, household income, value of home. It's a psychographic. It's why, it's what we talked about a second ago too, right? It's why they're buying from you, what your most popular SKUs are, and how do you talk to them in such a way that entices them? And then how do you customize your calls to action so that it's most appealing to them?
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And I have a question I want to ask you right now, but I'm going to wait until we talk about the 4th C, and then I will ask the question. You don't skip ahead if I ask the question and I'm wrong. So the 4th C, channel management, otherwise known as how and where to sell your services.
If you have a turn 'em and burn 'em approach, you won't stay in business very long. So how and where to sell is, again, positioning yourself in front of the right customer. It's knowing what upselling opportunities exist. And it's knowing what processes and procedures you need to have in place operationally and even in your marketing sales funnels so that you are constantly staying in front of your customers, so that you're constantly offering them something of value, so that you're keeping that tenacious relationship in place rather than having to go out and get a new customer. We both know as marketers, it's a lot more expensive to go mine for a new customer than just upsell a current customer.
Right. I agree. So now the question I wanted to ask, because I have an idea of what my answer would be, but I want to ask you. So out of these 4 C's of effective marketing, copy, consistent branding, customer demographics, and channel management, what do your clients have the hardest time doing? Or what's the hardest thing for someone to do, or the most shocking, when you start working with them and workshopping with them? What's something, what's the one of these 4 that stands out the most as like an aha moment for them going, oh my gosh, we've been doing it wrong?
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually going to give you 2 because it depends on the size of the customer or the size of the company. Larger companies are sometimes shocked when we start working on their sales funnels and they find that there are holes in their channel management. They've done all the things. They've done the Google ads. They've done the Google business profile. They've done the ads in the magazine, but they don't understand the synergistic relationship between all the marketing tactics that need to be connected underneath the strategy so that we can avoid people falling out of the sales funnel. So it's important to tie your tactics together underneath the strategy. So I would say that's one of the most surprising aspects for a larger company is when they go, why is my marketing not working anymore? Well, it's because there's holes in the process.
And does that mean they're maybe trying to sell in the wrong channels?
Yeah, maybe they're selling in the wrong channels, or maybe there's just gaps in their channels as it is. So maybe they've got a great landing page, but they don't have a lead magnet. Or maybe they have a lead magnet, but they don't have a follow-up process, right? So your marketing has to be tied together so that it is flowing consistently and working for you behind the scenes while you sleep.
Okay, that makes sense. And then you have, for smaller customers, is it different?
For smaller customers, it is. Yes. I think one of the things we talked about earlier, Kyle, is that they don't take the time to think about their story. They just want to get out there and sell. But really, your story matters. And taking an hour and a half to develop that framework of who you are, why you're in business, how you help people, and the process of how people buy from you clearly laid out pays itself back in dividends.
And that hour and a half is a service that you offer.
It is. Yeah. It's that story brand service where we sit down with you and we map out what that story looks like. You get your 7-part framework, you get your call to action, you get a wireframe of what your website should look like psychologically so that people are most likely to buy from you, and you get that downloadable lead magnet.
That's awesome. And what are some of the other services that you provide then for your Far Beyond Marketing company?
So we have a course to empower people to put the practices in place from the book, because we find that a lot of people want to do it themselves, or they have a marketing team that just needs training. So that's fantastic. We're a full service digital marketing agency. So whether they need branding, online ads, we partner with a brilliant data scientist out of Sacramento, California. So we can actually offer 3 TV and highly targeted digital ads. And then we also do consulting. And we do monthly retainers, SEO, SEM. We're full service.
And do you specialize in certain industries, or do you have clients from all kinds of industries?
We do. We're very blessed to have clients from all kinds of different industries. However, I guess the moniker of being the plumber's daughter has stuck with me for life, because I do work with a lot of the home service providers. Recently, we've started working with investment bankers, doctors, lawyers, and medical providers, because they find that they need to be very nuanced and very specific. The strangest category that we've ever worked with was a corset designer. They were selling corsets to people and they needed help with their sales funnel. So we helped them design a website to sell corsets.
And then, I love all these different sections in your book. I recommend it for all the listeners out there. Far Beyond Marketing Guidebook, Stop Being Duped by Ineffective Marketing. I love that subtitle, like I said earlier. But I wanted to ask you about SEO. There's a section here on SEO. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see search engine optimization, or SEO, change with the rise of AI and large language models? I mean, like right now, I use Perplexity for search. I mean, that's when I'm using Perplexity. I search in Perplexity. I start there. Rarely do I go to Google now. What are you seeing, and what are you doing about the rise of AI and SEO?
I think SEO is going to continue to have a metamorphosis, don't you? I mean, it's going to just change, and it's changing daily. I see a lot more focus being put on the mobile optimization and the local SEO for the clients that we service. There's a huge amount of focus being put on content creation for Google business profiles, a lot less focus being put on some of the more traditional methods of SEO like H1, H2. Yes, it's important, but Google came out with their study last year with the 33 most important SEO factors, and site speed and some of the other technical SEO things, they're just not ranked as highly by the algorithms anymore.
Wow, that'd be cool. I'd like to find that reference, and I'll add that to our show notes as well, so people can check that out. And of course, we'll have links to your book and your company and everything in here. Last question about the book. Now, I know there's a lot of different motivations, or maybe not motivations, to write a book like this, but I guess my question is, for some, it's a business card, right? Writing a book is, you become an authority overnight just by producing a book. You're seen as an expert. And sometimes it's a business card. Sometimes it's a lead magnet, lead generator. How have you found that publishing a book has helped you and your business?
I believe it's all the above. Yes, it is absolutely an opportunity to get in front of keynote speaking opportunities. If you want to speak, you better have a book. If you don't have a book, no one's going to hire you to speak. I also believe it is a differentiator to helping you set yourself apart from other competitors. I can hand a book to someone and say, listen, whether you work with me or not, I want you to win. Here's my book. Read it. Do what's best for you. And I also believe it's an opportunity to give back to people as well, to say, hey, listen, I've been where you are. I understand how scary that it can be. Let me help you to get where you want to go. And yes, of course, it's a business card. Yes, of course, it's a lead magnet. There's always a benefit of being able to have the authority of having a book. And, who doesn't want to see their book on Amazon? Come on, it's a little bit fun.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on the success with the book. I have a few personal questions for you before we wrap up. I guess my first question for you is, what TV, movie, book, or opera character do you most relate to?
Oh my gosh. Oh goodness. TV, character, or movie. Let's see. I'm probably more like Lady Mary from Downton Abbey. Tough as nails, all about business, but fiercely loyal to her family. So I like Lady Mary Crawley a lot.
That's awesome. I love the answer. So what's one thing you would like to change about yourself?
Just one? I mean, goodness, there's so many things. I mean, I'm 5 foot tall. Could I have been 5'10"? That would have been really nice. Thanks, Mom.
If your life was a movie and you were the main star, what would the audience be yelling at you to do?
Probably get out of my own way or shut up because I talk so much.
And I know I ask all guests, what's the one book they recommend the most to people? I'm sure you would say Far Beyond Marketing, and you would say Building a Story Brand. Is there another book that you recommend the most to people?
Oh, absolutely. So 2 that come to mind are Marketing is War by Reese and Trout. It is fantastic at helping people to understand the life cycle of marketing based upon the life cycle of a business. Hugely valuable. When I was in private equity, I made my entire team read it. Marketing is War by Reese and Trout. And then I love the 1-page marketing plan. I think it's fantastic by Alan Dibb. And there's so many things that you can put into place for that. And it solves a lot of problems. I'm a fanatic when it comes to audiobooks. I've always got an earbud in and I'm always listening to some kind of book.
That's awesome. What are you listening to now?
I just finished The Let Them Theory by Mel Robinson. Wow, life-changing.
All right. Now I have a lightning round of questions for you. Your favorite candy bar?
Oh, I don't eat sugar.
Favorite music artist?
Oh, gosh, that's a toss-up. Trisha Yearwood, Garth Brooks, Carrie Underwood, Louis Armstrong, and then, of course, Pavarotti. I mean, come on.
Very eclectic. Favorite cereal?
Don't eat carbs. My son likes Frosted Flakes, so we'll go with that.
Okay. Mac or PC?
Oh, PC all the way. Never used a Mac.
Google or Microsoft?
Google.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. I have a 115-pound Rottweiler that's my lap baby.
Nice. Phantom or Les Mis?
Ooh, both, but I fell in love with Phantom at a very early age and sang a lot of Christine, so I'm going Phantom.
All right. And last question for you, Amber. What's the worst thing about being an entrepreneur, and what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Worst thing about being an entrepreneur is the risk. You better be willing to take a risk, and you better be willing to step up and take accountability for yourself and your team and get paid last, because you are going to have to bear all the risk and all the burden of being an entrepreneur. The best thing about being an entrepreneur is the freedom. You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you go, it's on me. Let's go. Let's make this happen. And no one gets to take that away from you. Being a diehard Texan, my family's been in Texas since before the Alamo. For me, freedom is the most important thing.
Thank you. Thank you for those answers. And thank you for being so generous with your time today, Amber. Congratulations on the success of your book and your business. And I wish you much success in the future. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure being on your show, Kyle. Thanks for having me.